Welcome, dear students, to all of you today's online English class. Take my hearty congratulations. I hope all you are well at home. Let me thank you and salute you with the Islamic greetings. Assalamu alaikum. Let's peace and mercy of Allah Rabbul Alamin be on all of you. Let us pay thanks to the Mirpur Bangla Higher Secondary School Authority and our honorable principal sir. Because of his necessary measures and initiatives, we are still going on with our online English classes. Dear students, this is your Shakir sir. Today I am going to take a class on story writing. Story writing is very much important because in every school examination and in the national examination, you have to write a story that carries 10 marks. So, how to write a story to learn is very interesting, and it is a integral part of your learning even because it develops your creativity. Dear students, before going to the chapter, I must show you a book, English Grammar and Composition book for class 9 and 10. This is a textbook of class 9 and 10 given by the NCTB, National Curriculum Board, Dhaka. Although this is a second paper book, but this very book contains the first paper's element, that is completing stories. So, dear students, let me read out chapter 9 for your better understand. This very book is always with you at home, but the tragedy is that you are not habituated of reading any section from this grammar book. I must urge you to go through these books very minutely. This will help you both English first paper and second paper even. So, this is the story diagram I have digitalizedly slided on the screen for your better understanding. And before explaining the things shown over here, I want to read through the chapter completing stories from your English grammar and composition books, because unless I go through this chapter, you may face difficulties while I am explaining the things. So let me read out. We like to listen to stories, but it is not always easy when it comes to telling or writing a story well. It requires a lot of planning and organization in building up plot and other characters. So, dear students, this very segment talks you that writing a story or telling a story or hearing a story is interesting. It requires a lot of planning and organization in building up a plot and characters. There are some common techniques of telling a good story. For example, how you begin it, how the story is begin, how you carry story forward, that means how you carried it on up to the desired levels, and how you end it. So you could see the story must have a beginning, a middle, and an end, according to this very book set by NCTB. Before you start to write a story, you must have the plot. You must have the whole plot clear in your mind and main points arranged in their proper order. So, dear students, for your better understanding, what this book talks about is placed on the slides over here. But before explaining the slides, again I must read out what this very book talks. Read the following story, one of Aesop's well-known fables, and see how the story has developed. The Seven Sticks. So, dear student, let me read out The Seven Sticks, written by Aesop, a very ancient storyteller. Long ago and far away, there was an old farmer who had 7 sons. When he thought that he was about to die, he gathered his sons about him. He told a servant to bring in a bundle of 7 sticks tied together. Handing the bundle to his oldest son, his father said to him, "Now break the bundle." The son tried with all his might, but he could not break the bundle. One by one, the other brothers tried. None of them was strong enough. The father smiled. "Now, my sons, untie the bundle. Each of you take a stick in hand and try to break it." This time, they had no difficulty doing as their father bid them. In a few moments, all the sticks were broken. This is the end of the story. The plot is, "In unity there is strength," said his father. In unity there is strength. So, unity is strength is the plot. This very plot, dear students, this very plot, English Grammar and Composition book for class 9 and 10 in Completing Stories section 19 is written for your better understanding. So, now I am dropping the book. So, what we have seen in the story? Let me, whenever you are becoming expert in writing stories, you are developing a story in the examination hall, you should follow certain things. Suppose the story that is to be written in the examination hall may not be your common one. It may be unseen or unknown, and that should be. So, if any kinds of story there appears in the examination hall in the question paper, dear students, don't get afraid of. Hear me minutely and learn what I teach you in the slides. So, whenever I go through the NCTB book, I told you that a story must have a plot. It has a beginning, it has a middle and an ending. So, let us go through the slides and analyze the things taught over the slide. Then it will become more clear to you. Dear students, this is a diagram how to write a story. A story begins with exposition. Exposition, that means the start of the story, the situation before the action starts. That means a story begins very simply in a straightforward way regarding a plot. In the book, I read out that unity is strength. That is the plot. So, unity is strength. To prove that thing, to prove unity is strength, the writer Aesop designed and organized it in some way. So, let us see the ways as seen here. The story must have a starting, exposition. Exposition. Then rising action, climax, falling action or anticlimax, denouement or denouement or resolution. That is the ending of the story. A successful story must have this 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. Starting, that means exposition, then rising action, climax, falling action, anticlimax, resolution or denouement. So dear students, what is a rising action? The series of conflicts and crises in the story that lead to the climax. We have seen when father wanted to teach his children that unity is strength, he asked his servants to bring 7 sticks tied together. The order given by father to the servant creates a curiosity in us that what could be the next. So, the rising action of a story must have some wheel. That means it must have suspense. Suspense leads you to understand what will happen next. What will happen next? If the suspense of the story is very interesting, the story becomes interesting and you have high chance of getting full marks, even 10 out of 10 or 9, like that. So, rising action must have suspense, and suspense gradually leads the story towards the climax. So, in between exposition and climax, there is rising action. Before rising action, we could see that this is a pyramid diagram. Here is a section, inciting incident, that means the turning point. When a simple exposition of a story goes up to the climax, there must have happened something very interesting. That very interesting facts helps the story to rise upwards. That is the exciting incidents or the turning point. So here is a turning point. Turning point leads the story through rising action to the point of climax. What is climax? The turning point, the most intense moment, either mentally or in action. The story must have some action. Actions may be inward or outwardly. Action may happen outside. For example, whenever you are watching a movie, you could see a hero is fighting against a villain and killing his opposition very brutally. So we kept clapping to the hero's action. So these are the action. Action even may happen inside the mind. So if action happens inside the mind, the character inside the story may not understand, but the audience and the reader could understand what is happening. That is the important point, and that thing is called the irony. Dear students, so climax is a very complex point of a story, and whenever the action rises to its complex point, it reaches in a point to draw a better solution. Unless the fact or incident reaches the climax, you cannot expect any solution. So whenever climax happen and climax is over, then the story goes downwards. The stories, that is the falling action or anticlimactic action, anticlimax. When the after anticlimax happened, then the story comes to the end, and at the end of the story we could see a solution, a denouement, a resolution that may be happy or sad, that may be exciting or that may be less exciting. So these things we have to maintain while writing a story. So, denominator solution. So, dear students, now let me repeat it again based on the story I have read out from the NCTB book. The old fathers, whenever asked his servants to bring 7 sticks tied together and gave it to his elder son's hand and asked him to break the bundle down. So this is the story that is going to the climactic point. The very elder son tried again and again to break the bundle, and rest other sons, none of them could break it. So they could not break the bundle. So that is the climatic position of the story. So whenever in climax all the sons failed to break the bundle, then what happened? In another action, the father asked them to untie the bundle and take everyone a single stick and ask them to break it down again. So this very time, all the sons successfully broke the stick easily. So that is the solution. So easy solution make us understand that unity is strength. So unity is strength, that is the plot. The very plot is organized in a very simple way. There is 3 characters: old father, his servant, and 7 sons. All the sons together I define as a single character. Sons are character, servant is a character, and father is a character. So in the story there must have some characters. So dear students, whenever you are characterizing, our characters are participating to develop the story. The participation of the characters happens through the action. What the characters do, either physically or orally, all belongs to the action. Characters can be of first mainly 2 types: protagonist and antagonist, main characters and the opposition characters. Dear students, in the story or in a cinema, you could see a hero, that is the protagonist, and against the hero, the characters working, acting, they are not the hero. They are against the hero or the villain. They are the antagonist. So protagonist and antagonist and their activities lead a story to goes up. So dear students, so let me tell you, there must have a plot. Plot, that is the main elements of the story. I have lots of way to teach you about the plots. Elements of plot in PowerPoint presentation can be seen. I will show you in the next class about the plot. But before going through the next class and even before the ending of today's class, I must tell you something about the plot. So plot is the main theme of the story. For example, honesty is the best policy. This is a plot. So this very plot you can develop through a story that is prepared in your book, and all of you have gone through about the honest woodcutter. So honest woodcutter, action happens in the forest. He goes to the forest and he did not cut the wood. route. He searched for the dry log, and whenever he was cutting the dry log with his axe, it slips, it slipped and dropped down into the river water. Uh, he had no other way to run on his family, so he started crying. Seeing his crying, a fairy come up from the river and asked what happens. He told the fairies everything in details. Fairy goes down into the river, dived into the deep of the river bed, and comes up first with a gold axe, then a silver axe, and next with the original axe, that is the woodcutter, dropped on the water. In every time whenever the gold axe and the silver axe were shown to the woodcutter, he denied to take it, but he asked the fairy to return him the wood handled axe that is very much necessary for him. So, hearing the honesty of the woodcutter, the fairy turned amazed and she gave all the axe. The woodcutter became very rich whenever he got the gold axe. He went to the market, sold it, and he became a rich man. So honesty is the best policy. Honesty has a reward. So plot. This very plot have been developed through a series of crises, conflicts. The series of conflicts and crises in the story that lead to the climax, that is the rising action of the story. Once there was an honest woodcutter, that is the simple exposition. Then it goes to the climatic position. His axe dropped down into the river water and he had nothing to do. He started crying. Then we could see it drops down. Gradually come to the resolution or denouement or solution. So, plot are developed with some small plots. So, small plots can be termed as the subplot. So, plot and subplot is very much important. So, subplot should be very relevant to the story and very few in numbers. That is very much essential only to develop the main plot. So, if you make the subplot more than demands, then the story become prosaic or there causes episodic problem. So, dear students, you have maintained three things for your level in especially class 9, 10 and for class 12. So, my purpose is to teach you the students of class 10. You have to maintain a plot, then subplot, some characters and actions. All these things will start through a simple exposition. Then there must have a turning point, exciting point. Then it will take a rising action. The facts will goes up to the climatic points. Then gradually anticlimactic position it goes and the story will come to an end. That is very much important. Today's class I have told you. So if I go through the chapter again, so I must remind you the story must have a beginning, a middle and an end. The story must have a plot and subplot, a series of actions that must maintain these four segments and you must draw good points. Dear students, whenever you are describing the story, you should at least maintain three parts: starting, middle and ending. Most of the time you people don't make paraphrasing or don't use the separation. So there are also many other ways. Narrative technique also includes very important point: first person narrative technique, second person narrative technique, third person narrative technique, So those are very difficult things. These are not important for your level. So dear students, I think you have understood today's class about the story writing pyramid diagram. Pyramid diagram, this looks like a pyramid. I have explained in details, and I hope you have understood successfully at least what you need to know. So then you can explain or write down any story that is set in the question paper. Dear student, thank you very much. I hope you are staying at home with good health. I pray to the Almighty Allah, He may let you allow to lead a very healthy life. Don't go outside without wearing mask, because COVID-19, that means pandemic situation, is still going on. We have to remain safe and careful. May Allah keep us safe and sound. Thank you, dear students. Thank you. Bye.